Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Tony Carlston, who is the owner of Best Day of My Life. Welcome to the program, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. Good to be here.
Hey, so just reading through a little bit of your background, looks like you are just quite the slacker and just not doing much of anything. But boy, you got quite the storied past and been involved with and started and founding just some large companies with 50 plus employees, and it just sounds so neat. But to see now this level, and I say level because I literally hours ago presented a workshop on marketing psychology, and we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and one of them was kind of moving from striving to thriving. And when you want to give back, and I kind of see that here in your past here to start a company here with Best Day of My Life, and with that kind of a feeling and emotional appeal. So give us a little bit of that background story of what led you to that point to move that point in your career.
Sure. So I started selling. I was always the entrepreneurial kid, mowing lawns, painting house numbers on the curbs, whatever. And my senior year of high school, I started selling Cutco knives, as tens of thousands of kids do every single year. And I had great success with them. I've been with them 20 years now. My senior year of high school, I made like $45,000 selling Cutco. And when you're 17-year-old living at home with no bills, it might as well have been $100 million. I felt like I figured out everything in life. And I was a residential rep for several years. I got into management, and then I founded a division of the company called Cutco Closing Gifts, and we do gifts specifically for the real estate and loan officer industry. I was lucky enough at the same time to start an engraving company in my parents' garage with one engraving machine. And as the program continued to scale and grow, so did the engraving company. I eventually bought them out, moved into a headquarters, and Cutco Closing Gifts became the largest closing gift company in North America. And Branding Tools, which is the company that engraves over 90% of the Cutco for the United States, has 50 employees. We engrave about 1,300 knives a day here in Vancouver. And Cutco Closing Gifts done over $100 million in sales, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But how Best Day came to be was my top rep of all time. We talk often, and he called me and he said, "Hey, how's your day?" I said, "Oh, best day of my life." Just something fun to say.
Yeah.
And he just liked it. So he just started saying it when people asked him how his day was. And his girlfriend at the time went to a T-shirt shop and made 3 T-shirts, one for him and one for his 2 roommates. They were simple, just said "Best Day of My Life" on the front. And they would wear it around, they wear it out, and they got such an incredible response. Then they got that question that entrepreneurs get, which is, well, where do I get one of those?
Yeah.
They said, well, it's not really a thing. You don't. And so they looked into it, and come to find out the trademark was available. So they applied and were granted the trademark. And they went to GoDaddy.com and bought bestdayofmylife.com for $40. I don't know how it was available, but it was. And they got the Instagram, they got the Facebook, and they printed in the care instructions in the shirt that says, "Wear shirt, have the best day of your life, take pictures, share with us on Facebook or Instagram." And they did an Indiegogo Kickstarter campaign, and they sold $10,000 of product in 5 days. People loved it. They loved the product. They loved the message. They loved everything about it. Kind of like life is good for the next generation, if you will. And what happened was there were 5 owners at the time. I was not one of them. But one was my top sales rep. One was a manager with our company. One was in grad school. One was in a band. On and on it went. And nobody was running the business. They didn't have inventory. They had people wanting to buy stuff. No one making it. No one running it. No one following up with calls. It just kind of sat and died. And just kind of sat. They got over 2,000 Instagram followers in just the 5-day initial launch. And I kept bugging them. I'm like, this is a great concept. Sell me the company. Let me do something with it. And after 4.5 years of my pestering, they eventually just said, okay. Their initial trademark was about to expire. They didn't want to pay the money to renew it, so they sold me the company. And we relaunched it about 6 months ago and have just been going full bore ever since. So now we're a real company. We have inventory and SKUs and sold in different ways. But we sell a lot of co-branded products, a lot of just people buying our stuff. People really wear the product for one of 2 reasons. Some people are just positive. It's hard to have a bad day when you go out wearing something that says "Best Day of My Life." And the second is tied to an event. So maybe the day they get married, we have a wedding set you wear when you're getting ready. The day you have a baby. Co-branded, like we do that a lot. And so like Ducati in Portland, the day you buy a new motorcycle, you get a Best Day of My Life t-shirt, custom in their colors with their logo on the sleeve, and you get your picture in the red room, and it's the day you get your motorcycle Best Day of My Life. And it's kind of far-reaching. There's a lot of different best days for a lot of different people.
You can assign many things to Best Day of
right.
That's really ingenious. Yeah. So now I'm on your website and I see all the SKUs and all the products, and that's awesome. And I know that you think this way, but the thought just crosses my mind when you're, get past the whole 6 whole months of, launch, but you don't want to confuse your market, because when you confuse, you lose, as Donald Miller says in StoryBrand. But I would wonder if one aspect of your offering could be a type of, personal development program, mastermind training planner, that kind of a thing, because it then would go along with that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely could be. In fact, we did my very first podcast I ever did was Hal Elrod, the author of Miracle Morning. And he interviewed me, and we did a custom Miracle Morning Best Day of My Life shirt, and he announced it and launched it to his audience, and we sold hundreds and hundreds of them all over the world because people resonated with Miracle Morning and getting up and making it the best day of my life. And so you're right on point with that for sure. Events are also, Cutco obviously is a client of ours, and they just did a big CSP retreat back in our headquarters and did hoodies for everyone with their logo on the sleeve, and toured the factory with Best Day of My Life stuff on, and it was really cool. So you're 100% right.
Yep. Awesome. So you talk about purchasing with a purpose. What is that all about?
What that's about is 10% of our proceeds as a company go to an incredible organization called the Front Row Foundation. The Front Row Foundation was started by a couple guys a little over a decade ago. And what they do is they take critically ill people and put them in the front row of an event of their choice anywhere in the world, any type of an event. So maybe it's a concert, maybe it's monster trucks, maybe it's MMA, maybe it's whatever. And they not only put them in the front row with their family, but they also do a whole audio-video recording of the whole thing, and they present the family with this later, because approximately 50 to 60% of the people pass away shortly thereafter. Yeah. And it really, they create the best day of people's lives. So we resonate with them. Yeah. Another way we give back is we are a charitable fundraising tool that different charities use. So like Make-A-Wish in Portland, they use us to raise money for the charity. So they promote the brand, and when they promote it and people use their code, 50% of the proceeds will go directly back to Make-A-Wish Oregon chapter. And we set that up with different charities and whatnot. But as a company, 10% of everything we do goes to Front Row Foundation.
Yeah, I love that. And I teach marketing for several universities. And recently I taught a class where we covered the chapter on corporate social responsibility. And it was neat to see the correlation between CSR and cause marketing. And I'm sure you know this, but it was really made apparent that CSR is a big company writing a check going, okay, here's my obligation almost, right? And I know I'm simplifying it, but cause marketing is what you just described. We're getting behind something because we believe in the cause. We make it front and center. It's not just some line item at the end of the year. We write a check. This is something we want our tribe, our audience to know about, so they get behind it as well. And that becomes part of even more of the reason why they support the brand. They like the message. They like the co-branding for the events. But then we also love the fact that it's a small percentage or a portion of my dollar is going to go make this kid or this opportunity, in the Front Row Foundation. I love that aspect. Have you been seeing feedback that way from even your customers with aligning with that cause?
Yeah, so we tested it because, I've never been in apparel. I've been in cutlery for 20 years, so we don't know what we don't even know, right?
Yep.
So we went and tested this at the local Portland Rose Festival. It's a big carnival in Portland every year. And we learned a lot of things there. And one of the things we learned is people, not all people, but certain people heavily resonate with the idea of purchasing with a purpose. Yeah. When they're allocating money to anything, if they can align themselves with companies that are doing good with that money they want to, you've seen that success with Tom's Shoes and others. And people were in tears, even some of them at the booth, just hearing the stories of the Front Row Foundation and the good work that they do. Some people just made donations directly to the charity. They just came up to our Best Day booth and didn't even want a shirt. They just said, hey, just give this to the charity. Yeah. And so absolutely 100% is really important too. Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Now, do you guys as a company do anything similar to where I'm thinking is, you mentioned Tom Shoes, and I know that they have some function or feature where they will take even people to where they're going to donate the shoes and get them involved. So do you guys as a company do anything with the Front Row Foundation other than just saying, hey, here's this check? Or do you go to some events? Do you present the big check? Or do you do something like that to really amp it up with your internal employees?
Right. So we provide their apparel. So when they did their annual event, had 100 people come to it, we're the ones that make and donate the shirts for that. We're the ones that donate the shirts for the recipients. Same thing with Make-A-Wish here in Portland. So this year we donated all the shirts for every Wish kid in Portland. So apparel is something we can do now for people. So when we can donate and when we can use that leverage piece to help these different charities, we absolutely try to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like you hear about some of the companies, just the different variations of how they get their firm involved. And you see some companies that say, hey, we could write a check, or we could all take next Friday and I'll pay you, but we're going to all go down to the food bank and serve meals or whatever the case is. So, yeah, seeing when a company can get involved more than, quote, unquote, writing the check is huge.
Yep.
So thinking about this, I've seen a lot of this research on the, purchasing with a purchase and cause marketing like we've been mentioning. I feel and I fear that the temptation for a company could be, any company could be, hey, we want to make that impact and let's do this for the purpose of increasing our awareness and increasing sales. So where do you feel the line is to make sure that a company is doing it for the purpose of that cause and that charity? And if there tends to be some increased brand awareness, and that's a wonderful thing, but it does kind of cut through all the clutter and chatter in the world to kind of set your brand apart. So how do you just make sure that you're keeping your focus on the right path?
For us, it really just comes down to intention. Best Day for me is a great tool that can do great things, and it promotes positivity and goodness in the world, right? So can some companies do it for the wrong reason but still create a great thing for charities? Yeah, and is that a bad thing? I don't know. I'm not an ethics professor. Right. Okay. But at the same time, I think it just comes down to intent. And if companies want to do good things and they benefit from it, all the better, right?
Yep.
In terms of our intent, we want to raise millions of dollars for the Front Row Foundation. We would love for them to double or triple the amount of people they can put in the front row as a benefit of working with us and receiving donations from us. So that's our intent. I can't speak to other companies or why or how good it is or how much it makes a difference, but we feel good about being aligned with Front Row Foundation for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, so you mentioned about co-branding and companies that can use your apparel in their corporate events and for their business purposes. And you mentioned a couple of those, but let's talk a little bit more about if someone is listening and they are running a company, what would be some things they could consider and look at for their opportunity that way?
Awesome. Yeah, I would say reach out to me. You can get a hold of me through the website for sure. But, co-branding by putting your logo or word or whatnot down the arm or on the back of the product or even on the front. We donated 60-some shirts to a Wish kid that did a concert for other kids that were in the special needs hospital in Portland, and we did his logo on the front. And then on the side, it was just a teeny tiny shirts complimented by Best Day of My Life Corp or whatever. So we have unlimited. We've also, as one of those weird things we never thought we'd be into, but we are now, we're doing a lot of private label stuff. There's a lot of people that are not happy with whoever provides their corporate swag, if you will. So now we do all of the swag for a vineyard in Malibu. We also do it for a home builder. That has nothing to do with Best Day of My Life, but it's still the same company. It still benefits the charity. But there's a lot of people out there that have worked with small entrepreneurial mom and pop printing shops, and because they don't have the scale, they can't get that good a price or that good a quality. Because we have the scale, we can do both and still benefit the charity, make a little bit of money. So private label was surprising. We had no intent of getting into that, but that's been a chunk. And then the co-branding, I think, has been the biggest piece thus far. Aside from fundraisers is really big for us. But the co-branded stuff is awesome because we can do so many different things with it. I'm the most pragmatic person you will ever meet, and whatever makes sense, I'm all for.
Yeah.
So, if someone calls, they're like, well, we don't want it, so big. Can you make the best day half the size and put our logo underneath it, or what? Yeah, whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure we put it on high quality products. That's important
Yes.
to me. But in terms of the printing and what we're doing with it, we really let the customer dictate what's important to them.
So, of course, 6 months in, you're still just plowing away, and you're not really to the point of not a pivot per se, but product line extensions and all that. But where would you see yourself in 2 to 3 years with some of these co-branding or charity or giving? Where do you want to see it balloon up to, other than just do more and be more and give more? But do you have anything specific that if you could wave a magic wand and say, boy, if we could align with or provide something like, what would that look like for you?
For me, it's really, we're not really a T-shirt company. We're a message company, right?
Yeah.
Life is Good started with two guys 20-some years ago in a van selling T-shirts to people in Boston at the colleges. Now they do $100 million a year. They're in 4,500 stores, right? So we'll see how we get wherever we're going. I don't know what the avenue will be, or who we'll align with, or who will be lucky enough to align with. I don't know. Do you know what slime is, Mike? Like the kids play with slime.
Oh, yeah. It comes in like the little Play-Doh looking thing, and you play around with it. Yep, like
exactly. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, has a slime business with her best friend. And we just got back from a slime convention on the East Coast. This is a thing. They sold out 8,000 tickets one day. It's quite the event.
Nice.
And we flew out to the East Coast and went to the slime convention. And just there, we met famous Slimers, if you will, that have 500,000 followers on Instagram, 800,000 followers that love the message, that want to do co-branding and sell merchandise and whatnot. We were never pursuing
when I hear that
market.
You think about from the academic standpoint of align with influencers, and who would have thought the top Instagram slime person would be a factor? But you know what? That's where the gold lies, I would say, because everyone's clamoring for whatever big name. But, this person you're talking about, they're like, cool, let's hook it up.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, she had a line that was 2 hours long for 2 straight days and sold nearly 3,000 slimes at this event. So in her world, that micro niche, she's a top slime crusher, right?
Yep.
And, so that's so cool. But, everyone would love Kim Kardashian or Justin Bieber to be seen in their product. That certainly helps. But, you just never know where it's going to come from. That's kind of the fun of entrepreneurship and the adventure, because we have no idea what we don't know. That's part of the deal. But we want to learn, and we want to figure stuff out, and we want to make mistakes. We didn't even launch with black products, like the color black. And then we went to that Rose Fest, and people were like, where's the black stuff? I'm like, I don't know. We don't have it. Uh-huh. And then we launched with black, and now it's 60% of our sales. I'm like, we should have black. Who would have thought? Everybody apparently except me.
So the thing about private label intrigues me for one point that I want to just see if we can nail down, because I think that too many times entrepreneurs get so busy and they're just flying around, and there are opportunities right underneath our nose that we miss. So can you remember back when you first noticed that could be an opportunity? What was it that made you go, this could be a little bit of a thing? What did you notice that maybe if you weren't noticing it, it would have passed you right by? Sure.
So for us, I was just talking to one of my neighbors here in my headquarters, and it's a home builder, and I was telling him about best day of my life and how cool it is, and I gave him a hoodie, and he's like, I love this hoodie. It's the most comfortable hoodie I've ever had. You know what? I wonder, would you be interested in maybe making just our Stone Ridge Homes stuff? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yes.
So I took it in, and I worked it up, and now they buy their Stone Ridge stuff from us. And then we did the big fashion show in Las Vegas, and someone that was really interested in Best Day just relaunched their vineyard brand, if you will, in Malibu, and they're like, can you just make our stuff too? And we want to do Best Day too, but we want to start with just our stuff. Yeah. And that was one of the biggest orders we've had to date.
Wow.
So it just came from pounding the pavement. So I have a full-time salesperson that works for me, and she works and hits the phones all day, every day, selling Best Day stuff. And, it's interesting, the weird weird stuff. Like we have a tree farm that wants to do it for their employee uniform for this tree season. And, just weird, like the Boy Scouts are going to use it as a fundraiser and one of the local troops. One of the school districts going to use it. Other people just want to get custom stuff for like a family reunion. So it's far-reaching, and I think the hardest part about this is trying to figure out what to focus on, because just because something does sell a certain way doesn't mean you should focus your time or energy there, because it may not be the best return. So,
well, in the marketing world, they'll tell you, focus on that niche and be that expert in that one thing, and don't be all things to all people, because you can't be the jack of all trades. But I don't see that with what you just described, because you are doing apparel with a good feeling and a charity component, and it's not being all over the place. If a tree company wants to buy from you, or a construction company, or you want to align with XYZ brand, that's just the way that the market is consuming your product. So that's wonderful. And if you find that there's some private label clamoring, maybe you just have another business development person that only does that, but you're still staying true to the mission of T-shirts, apparel with a good message. And that's not going with, hey, let's do, whatever. Let's, car wraps. Let's do that too. No, that's getting off brand.
Right. Yeah. And it all goes to, even if they do private label or co-branded stuff, it still benefits the charity. It still is for good cause for the same company. So, it's all under the same umbrella without getting off point, like you said, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Tony, awesome connecting with you. I love hearing your story. What's the best way that people can reach out, learn more, and pick up some Best Day merchandise?
Awesome. Well, our website's bestdaymylife.com. Our Instagram and Facebook is Best Day of My Life. And you can go on the website and you can use the code MIKE, MIKE, and you'll get 25% off your purchase. So thank you for having me today, and I want to pass that along to your listeners.
Thank you.
And if you have anything needs in your business for co-branded or a private label or whatnot, you can reach me personally directly through the site. You can call or email me, and I can talk to you about that. But it was a pleasure being on your show today, and I appreciate you a lot.
Tony, thank you so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.